And for more on the Rim of the Pacific exercises and the search for missing Malaysian Airlines Flight 370, I'm joined by Mark Perry. He's a military and foreign affairs analyst and the author of 8 books, including extensive writing on the Pacific. And thanks so much for being here. We appreciate your insight you're going to offer today. Tell us about the RIMPAC exercises. Have they been successful?
Well, they're just the beginning, but yes, they were successful. I think the Obama administration is very pleased with the way they went. I know the U.S. Navy is very pleased. This is kind of a lean in from the U.S. military side of the equation to the Asia pivot, the Obama administration's Asia pivot. It is an actual tangible evidence that there is such a thing as an Asia pivot. It's as your report said, focused on command and control and coordination of differing navies, and I think it worked very well.
What about China's participation this year? Their vessel is not the most sophisticated of the group.
Well, it gave the United States a good chance to meet and talk with their colleagues in the Chinese military and to see what kind of technology the Chinese have. It wasn't impressive, but they're not showing us everything. I think it's a good beginning. The United States knows it needs to do a lot more to pull the Chinese into these kinds of exercises, to continue and broaden the base of the cooperation. It's a good beginning, but it's just a beginning.
I mean, obviously, the big talk is Malaysian Airlines Flight 370. What happened to the plane, and which nations are really going to share in the burden of work in the Pacific?
Well, I was very impressed by the way that the Australian Navy handled this, and I think the United States was very impressed. They know this area very well. We had a very good relationship with them in World War II. I know it's a long time ago, but it's been revived now. 60 years ago, we've come to depend on them and trust them. They know the region and the area very well. In the search for this airliner, we were very happy to defer to their expertise. They know the Indian Ocean, they know the Pacific, and we listen closely to what they have to say. I think that was really, and has been, a very good model for the kind of cooperation we're going to see in the future.
So the Australians absolutely took the lead in this?
There's no doubt in my mind they did. They knew what they were doing. They were very professional, very well trained. They have an excellent Navy, and I think it was a very good signal to the United States. This is an ally we can depend on.
Malaysian Airlines Flight 370, it's certainly been a lesson for so many people in your line of work, and of course ordinary citizens as well, as how difficult this search has been. What have we learned from this?
Well, what we've learned is that allies that are what we've considered, I suppose, secondary allies, and it sounds like a derogatory term, but allies like Indonesia and Malaysia just haven't been up to technological speed on this. They've shown that they have a long way to go in their coordination, their command capabilities, especially in their communications facilities, and we have to step in, the Australians have to step in and help them. There's a very deep kind of lessons learned in the U.S. military on what happened during this flight and what were the pitfalls, and it's being studied very closely.
Okay, and how realistic is it that cyber warfare will be concluded in the future exercises? What do you think about this?
I'm not optimistic. I think that this is going to take some time. The Chinese in particular are very sensitive about this issue. They think that they have some edge in it. They look at the United States not as aggressors, but as competitors in the region, and they don't want to give up too many of their secrets. So I think eventually there will be cyber warfare capability sharing. But it's going to take a while for that to happen, and a lot of trust has yet to be built.
Right. There's been talk that people are dialing back from these big vessels. Of course, the U.S. has led the way with the aircraft carriers. China's just now getting one, but has 2 more that they're thinking about. Why is that? Expensive?
They're very expensive. They're manpower intensive. They can be very vulnerable in a full-scale conflict. But I think the criticisms of the carrier fleet come from those who are the small Navy advocates, and you hear it especially from people who might look at China as less of a competition. I think we're going to stay with the big carriers. The Navy loves them. And after all, they work. They're very intimidating, and they can deploy a lot of capability.
Mark Perry, thank you so much for coming in.
Certainly.
We appreciate it.